this is Gary, and today we're going to be looking at 9 ways to improve as a manager. Now, I know how it is. You've been working in the job for a while, managing your team, but you feel there's something lacking. You need a little bit of help. You need to help manage your way through the position where you currently find yourself. And so we're looking at this video about how to manage your team better, how to improve your skills as a manager. Now, when we've gone through those, you may find actually we have identified 1 or 2 ways where you need further help, in which case there are other videos I've done in this series, but at the same time you may decide you need some more specific and explicit training in some particular area, and hopefully I'll try to identify in this video the areas which will help you to improve your skill set as a manager. Broadly, what we're going to be covering in this video are 3 key areas. First of all, how to stay on top of things. And there's an awful lot to do as a manager, and it's difficult sometimes to stay on top. And which are the things that you need to stay on top more urgently than others? Secondly, we'll be looking at connections, making connections, improving connections, in short, communication, the need to connect well. And it's not just about communicating and connecting with your team, but communicating and connecting with others you need as part of your network for the development of the business, and also for management expectations elsewhere above you as well as around you. So making good connections, communicating well is critical to all of those things. And finally, we're talking about leading the way. You are a manager after all, so it's really important to lead the way, to give clear direction so people know where you're going, what you're going to do when you get there. And that requires preparation, it requires presentation, you have to express your views, you need to give clear directions on what is needed, and managing issues as they arise. And to some extent, accepting the reality of where you are. There will be a limitation to what you can do in terms of resources, in terms of people, in terms of what can be done. And you have to accept that and manage expectations accordingly. So overall, we'll be covering all that in 9 ways to improve as a manager. Now, having covered that in the introduction so you know what's coming, I'm sure a number of you out there are now saying, well look, please just stop procrastinating and please just get on with it. Fine, that's exactly what we will do, of course. So, without further ado, and with bated breath, as they say in all good videos, let's get into it. Okay, so let's get into it. We're looking at 9 ways to improve as a manager. In other words, how to manage your team better. And my advice, as always, is to read the small print. So, the first 3 ways 1 to 3, is to stay on top. On top of what? Well, you need to stay focused on any project plan, its goals, the milestones, the checklists, and those smart actions that are part of that plan. You need to make sure that the actions are smart, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timed. Next thing, you need to stay on top of the finances. It's easy to let those run away from you. And you've got to stay on top of your time, because the one thing you'll be short of in addition to money is going to be time, and that's your time and that of your team. So the next 3 ways, 4 to 6, is to connect well. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, it means making good connections, it means good communication, and that means listening. Listen regularly and actively with your team. And what do we mean by active listening? It means that you read back to them what they tell you, and you make good notes to show that you understand, you've taken note of it, and that you're going to act on it. You have to show that you believe in what you do in order to get buy-in. Because if you've got buy-in, you've got support, you've got good motivation within your team, and you've got a positive environment in which they can work. And you need to communicate in the most efficient way to your team and your boss. And that means managing those expectations both up and down. And that's what connecting well is all about. And finally, the last 3 ways are to lead the way. After all, being a leader is an inherent part of being a good manager. And that means you need to listen, prepare, present your views and give the team clear direction. And you've got to manage any issues as they arise. Don't allow them to pass, don't allow them to fester. And you need to develop those soft skills of conflict management where needed. And indeed, you've got to accept the reality of where you are and work for continuous improvement. And believe me, the 9 ways to improve being a good manager are as easy as that. Okay, so that was 9 ways to improve as a manager. And if you're still with me now, well, thanks very much for sticking with it. I hope it's given you a broad outline of some of the areas where you might be able to improve, and indeed some of the areas where if you need further help or training, you can pursue them. Now, just to recap, we looked at 9 ways to improve as a manager, in essence, how to manage your team better. First of all, we looked at ways in which you need to stay on top, broadly on top of any project plan you're working on, its goals, its milestones, the checklists, and the smart actions you need to follow through. Secondly, and most importantly, staying on top of finances, and finally, staying on top of time and that of your team, because that's one of the most difficult resources to manage as a manager. Second area we looked at was making good connections. Good connections with those around you, with your team, with those above you, with your network, communicating in the most efficient way possible, and managing expectations accordingly. And then thirdly, because you're a manager, you have to lead the way. So we had a look at the need to listen, to prepare, and to present your views and give clear directions. And of course, to manage issues as they arise. Don't let them fester, you must deal with them as they arise. And ultimately, as I have said before, to accept the reality of where you are, the resources, the people, the team you have, and to manage expectations accordingly. And to be honest, if you want to improve as a manager, it is as easy as that. So, if you like this video, please mark it as a like. And if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. All that's left for me to say now is thanks very much for watching, and bye for now.